They say our children are too loud, too slow, or too lively. The school system has a policy of targeting our children. There is a deeply rooted cultural bias. As a collective, we stand a chance.
Hey, what's going on out there, YouTube family? This is Samuel Leggett here representing Team JVS. I am back here again for another movie review. Now, this is the 5th episode / chapter of The Small Axe, directed, produced, and written by the great Steve McQueen. The name of this one is called Education. Now, I'll just read a brief synopsis of it. The name of the movie is Education, but Education is coming-of-age story of a 12-year-old Kingsley, played by Kenyah, who has a fascination for astronauts and rockets. When Kingsley is pulled into the headmaster's office for being disruptive in class, he discovers he's being sent to school for those with special needs. Distracted by 2 jobs, his parents are unaware of the unofficial segregation policy at play, preventing many black children from receiving the education they deserve, until a group of West Indian women take matters into their own hands. This movie, I'm gonna tell you off the bat, it hit home on so many different levels. The fact that I am a father and I want the best for my son, you know, even though he's like 2 years old at this point, I think about his education. I think about him, you know, being preserved, him being taken care of, him being not being disregarded or like shut to the side just because of a personal bias from the color of his skin. And when the movie starts, you kind of like, you're looking at, you know, Kingsley, and he's kind of like goofing around with his friends. You know, look like the schools looks pretty presentable. It's around the 80s or 90s. And, you know, kids will be kids. And like, one of the first things you notice is like, kind of like he seemed like he had a little bit of attitude, and it seemed like he was kind of like, you know, really excited about astronauts, but that was his only central focus. And there was also a religious, you know, cornerstone to both Kingsley and his sister, as well as prevalent throughout the house with different crucifixes and different things. So it's like there's an emphasis there on faith and faith sustainability. Not necessarily the works aspect, but like, I'm going to believe that God's going to push and allow me through the progression of this, and I'm going to ask what I want that I might receive it, you know. And Kingsley in his heart also really wants to be his astronaut, and he wants to strive towards that. But when it comes to school, like, he's sitting there watching other people, and he's like, first interactions, you see him in school, and like, he seems like he just doesn't want to read. And I was kind of like, oh, maybe he's dyslexic, or maybe like he, you know, has like, you know, test anxiety or like extreme anxiety. Then there's a situation where he's, you know, in the music room, and all of a sudden like he starts getting overly loud and like doesn't know that he's being heard, or like sounds like he's kind of acting out. All the different things that he's doing, the perception could easily be, if he wasn't actually being looked at, is that he's just acting out, like he doesn't want to do anything. And then all of a sudden something changes, like in terms of his character. The moment that he goes into the headmaster's office, and the headmaster's like, yeah, he's been having problems all the time. The mother even says like, oh, this is my first time even being here. And it's kind of, it could be alluded that, you know, he's acting out, but then it's like, no, like he needs some kind of help. But the moment that Kingsley gets on the bus and he goes to the school, and they doing like the introductory test, and I was kind of thinking, okay, the test is gonna gauge, you know, if some kids have like learning disability and what the levels are, or if there's somebody that is a little bit slower but needs remediation on special ed and special needs. You know, what are the differences in between, you know? But instead, I watched this and I was kind of like, these kids are being lumped in together. and they're not being truly preserved. They're not being truly cared for, and they're not really learning anything. There were some serious, harsh realities that happened in this movie that really struck home and really drove home, like, you need to confirm how your child is doing. And the thing about it with this West Indian family, you know, both the mom and the dad are working. The mom specifically, the very first interactions you see with her, she's cooking and slaving, and she's going off and going and cleaning, and she's going and being a nurse. By the time everything's done, like, she has nothing left to give. Her expectation is like, my kids need an education, they must not be doing what they're supposed to do. And in the very early stages of it, Sharlene White's character, Agnes, kind of comes off as an antagonist. Like, it's kind of like, does she care? You know, I started to question, does she care as much as is Kingsley actually trying? And you find out that both really do care, both really do want to try, and it makes for this very, gut-wrenching, heart-heavy second and third acts of this film that really do strike some chords with me. It easily is one of the best out of the 5 of the Small Lax films. Kenyah Sandy in the role of Kingsley has this sincerity about him, and like this it's dry, but yet at the same time it's this level of self-defeat too. It's almost like a level of hopelessness because he doesn't know what to do. He doesn't feel like he can even communicate with his mom because of stress and stuff that she's got burdened to her. And then when you think about Sharlene White's character, Agnes, it's like, what can be done at this point, you know? Because when things start to get realized, that's when things start to get crazy. And the chemistry is amazing between the two, between the family, and it's even deeper than that because they start to do things that these other movies really didn't do because it's such a big, vast film with surrounding circumstances. This is very particular. Every single character has their own niche with this, because even though the dad in this doesn't have that many scenes, there are a few scenes that make you understand his whole entire character and fundamentally where his character needs to go. The sister, who's kind of played as this smart one, so to speak, you can tell there's other things that she needs, that she's lacking. And then as a whole, as a people, you start to understand and comprehend that from the educational system side of things, that there's something wrong fundamentally. And initially when I watched the film, you know, I kind of went to the, you know, assumption that, okay, based on this situation, like when he went to the other school wasn't giving him what he needed. But then there's something that happens in the third act that I don't want to spoil. You need to see it for yourself. It's on Amazon. Definitely go see it immediately. When he gets to the third act and some things start to be unraveled and provided to Kingsley finally, you start to realize it wasn't just the special needs school, it was the school that he was in. When you get to the reality, there's one scene, and I'll never forget it, when Kingsley is watching TV and his mother comes to him, brings out a book. And the sister's there as well. Like, that is where reality and that was where, to me, is real, true, hard change you understood needed to be taking place. It was deeper than just the actual school. Like, you realize what was really happening. But then at the same time, there are other pivotal scenes that are so iconic to me. There's a scene that takes place with Kingsley in the bathtub. There's a scene with Kingsley when he's in the special needs school and somebody's singing. There's a scene where Kingsley is interacting with his sister alone. And there's a specific scene with Agnes when she's being told what's going on in the special needs school, where I felt levels of sadness that I didn't foresee I would feel. Because I really truly was like, this is discouraging, this is sad, and I'm praying something has to change. And like by the end of the film, you will get something truly out of this one. And I really believe that it's a specific and a special message that is needed for us African American males, African American women, and in general, just as a society. This is something that needs to be understood, realized, changed, reformed, and looked at and dissected, because it is very pivotal. As far as writing in this one, I think that it was a simplistic story, but the structure and what was really going on in the context and the actual subject matter with the reality of it is very essential. Very well done, very well acted. Chemistry is off the charts in this one. And it all centers around, like I said, Kenyah's performance as Kingsley. And I was in awe of what I was able to actually see from this. And the other thing I will say is that I got the opportunity to actually interview Sharlene and Kenyah, the two main stars of this. And I want you guys to definitely go and check in the description, or maybe I'm going to put it as a little tag somewhere over here, so you can check out both of those interviews, because they are some amazing people, and I don't think you want to miss their perspectives on their characters and dissections of why this movie is so essential and why they were in love with the characters that they were able to portray through what Steve McQueen brought to life in this amazing film. I would give this a 9.5 or 9 out of 10. I easily thought it was one of the best. I think Mangrove is a beast. But after Mangrove, I would say this is probably my second favorite. Like, I really did truly love this film, and I took a lot from it as a father, especially for such a time as this. You guys have a blessed one. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, hit that bell button. Go and check out, like I said, both interviews, and go and check out Education from the Small Axe series. I'll talk to you guys soon. Amazon. Great job. Peace, guys.
We are the small axe, sharpened to cut you down.